talking about our next segment in this episode. Um, a segment I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, to be honest, and I've thought about it a lot. It's something that's gotten me very interested, and that is what the fuck are the Seahawks going to do with the fifth overall pick? As a Seahawks fan, and as a Seahawks fan for more than 10 years, I am damn aware that John Schneider's drafting is impossible to predict. Um, this man has taken L.J. Collier and Rashad Penny in the first round and left me completely ass baffled. I have just been besides myself. He also took, and I have this on record, he also took D. Eskridge in the second round when Creed Humphrey was there for the taking, who me and my former podcast partner were pounding on the fucking table for. Turns out Creed was pretty good and D. Eskridge doesn't do jack shit. Whatever. So they're impossible to predict. Um, Even more so now because the Seahawks have not had a top five pick in the entire regime of Pete Carroll and John Schneider. Last year, I believe, was the first time they had a top 10 pick since like 2011. And they took Charles Cross, which actually I did get that one right. I did predict Charles Cross. And I actually also have proof of them taking Tariq Woolen like I predicted. But, you know, they call me a genius, but it's whatever. So in this video, in this segment rather, I'm going to try to highlight or illustrate some of the potential options that the Seahawks have at pick 5. So this week, in his combine interviews, Pete Carroll mentioned that taking a quarterback for the Seahawks is not off the board. And for me, that's pretty exciting because I love Geno Smith, but I don't see Geno Smith as the long-term option. It's kind of like I see Daniel Jones, where it's like, okay, the guy had a really good year. Let's see what he could do. So if Geno re-signs and he balls out and he's good, okay, we have a good quarterback, bet. But if he doesn't, or maybe if he is and he doesn't want to sign an extension further than that, then we have a guy who can play behind him and learn for a year and then be ready to go. And I think that that's the best case scenario for a rookie quarterback, is to sit for a year behind a good, solid veteran, learn, and then year two, it's his team. Give him the keys, see what he can do. Let him cook, more or less, right? That's the exact case that happened with Patrick Mahomes, backing up Alex Smith for his first year and then winning MVP in his first season starting. So I think that would be the best option for the Seahawks. Additionally, the Seahawks are not opposed to taking best player available, which is a non-quarterback as well. And we just talked about the Jalen Carter situation, so there's a high chance that Jalen Carter is now available at 5, where I previously would not have thought he would be. So there's a lot of things to kind of cook up here. Let me start with the quarterback position, okay? So if the Seahawks go quarterback, I think that that's a pretty ballsy move, but it's one that I think would probably pay the most dividends in the future, right? Like I said, if you have a good quarterback, every team in the league wants to have a really good quarterback, and you have a top 10 quarterback, you always have a chance. The Seahawks had a chance every single year with Russell Wilson when he was in his heyday, right? The problem is that they didn't surround him with there were a lot of holes on the roster that prevented him from doing things, whatever. But if you have a top 10 quarterback, you always have a chance. Additionally, for a rebuilding team like the Seahawks are, I would still consider them a rebuilding team. I know they went to the playoffs last year. I'd still consider them a little bit rebuilding. The best asset you could have is a good quarterback on a rookie deal, so that the Seahawks could allocate other resources to defense, offensive line, etc., right? So you want to go top 5. The only quarterback that I think is for sure going to be off the board at number 5 is Bryce Young. I would be shocked if Bryce Young slid all the way down to number 5. Bryce Young's there. You take Bryce Young. You don't ask questions. You have your franchise guy for the next 10 years. Okay? Assuming Bryce Young's off the board, I think the only guys that would be left on the board, or the guys that would be left on the board, would be C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, etc., right? Would I take any of those guys at 5? Will Levis? Fuck no. I would not take Will Levis at 5. Would I take C.J. Stroud at 5? I'd feel a lot better about it. I'm gonna say yeah. Now Anthony Richardson at 5 is, to me, extremely ballsy, which makes it feel even more likely like the Seahawks are going to do it. I don't know what inkling I have. I don't know what superstition I have. I just feel like the Seahawks are in love with Anthony Richardson. And I've been seeing him mock to the Seahawks a lot. And I think, if we're going back to what I was just saying, if you want to have a quarterback where, okay, Gino's team in 2023, your team in 2024, Anthony Richardson is the guy that fits that bill the most because he needs to be coached up the most. Um, I've said it a lot about Anthony Richardson, but Anthony Richardson's ceiling is higher than anybody's and his floor is lower than anybody's. So you really got to be certain that you're coaching him up, right? Um, so I would be not surprised if the Seahawks took Anthony Richardson at 5, but I would be nervous. I'd be nervous um, because I would not want to waste a top 5 pick on a potential bust. But whatever. So anybody other than those three quarterbacks, I would absolutely not do at 5. No fucking way. Another guy that if he's there at 5, I'm taking, and I'm taking faster than I'm taking him faster than Roger Goodell could say his name. That'd be Will Anderson. Will Anderson to me is the best pass rusher in this draft by a country mile, and the Seahawks would be absolutely thrilled if he fell to 5. Defensive line is one of their biggest weaknesses. And he is the best player in this draft, I feel. So it's kind of a match made in heaven where you get the best player at your worst position at edge rusher. So get get you a generational edge rusher for the next 10, 15 years. Von Miller, Myles Garrett, etc. That's how highly I think of Will Anderson. So that's what I would do if I was the Seahawks. And then at number 20, the guy that I'm targeting, the guy that I really want is Joey Porter. I would love to see him paired up with Tariq Woolen to see what they could cook up together. But obviously, if they go with I think Kalijah Kancey is probably not going to be there at 20. Maybe, Brian Brisset, maybe Miles Murphy, maybe Aaron Carter, maybe one of those guys. I'm sorry, not Aaron Carter, Andre Carter, the guy from Army. One of those guys. I would go defense. I'd pick 20. So there's that. But what do you guys think the Seahawks will do at pick number 5? I want to hear your opinions, and I want to hear what you think, both from the perspective of Seahawks fans, if there are any watching, and from the perspective of just regular NFL viewers who are interested in seeing what the Seahawks do. Let me know down below. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this segment, and I will catch you guys in the next segment.